today on TLC Live, Vidal Martinez, former assistant U.S. attorney, who will talk about the latest news on former President Donald Trump. And also, Amanda Krippel. She is the Texas A&M AgriLife Harris County Extension Agent Family and Community Health. She's representative and she's going to talk about health in Harris County.
My goodness, you have a mouthful.
Ay, ay, ay.
Hola.
Hola, ¿cómo estás?
Muy bien.
Bienvenido.
Gracias.
You know,
Un placer estar contigo.
Un placer estar contigo de nuevo.
Okay.
Actually, it was good to missing you last Wednesday because I have the pleasure for the first time to co-host with my son.
I heard all about it. I didn't see it, but I heard it was a great hit and some good things happened. So let's go straight into the show because our former candidate for Harris County judge and former assistant U.S. attorney is now in the private practice. And as you know, attorneys bill by the hour. And so we're really sucking up his income. Vidal Martinez.
He's doing pro bono today.
He's doing pro bono. Vidal, welcome to the program. And as you know, we have a second set of federal indictments against former President Donald J. Trump. But before we get started, and I want to ask you a couple of questions, I want to take a moment to read a short paragraph in the Declaration of Independence, was, as you know, was signed and made public July 4th in 1776. And it says that whenever any form of government becomes destructive to these ends, that is, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it, and to institute a new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such a form as to them shall be most likely to effect their safety and happiness. That's in the Declaration of Independence. And then after that, we formed a government that has a constitution signed and approved by the 13 colonies. And shortly thereafter, we created the Bill of Rights, which essentially the Constitution says the people are in control. The Declaration of Independence says it's the people. It's not the government that's all powerful. And the reason I'm saying all this is that the Constitution has what's called enumerated powers. The people give the federal government X powers. And over the last 230, 240 years, the government has grown. It's an insatiable appetite to consume all power. And so part of that is free speech and the right to assemble. Now, it doesn't say you have the right to go burn buildings and to storm government buildings. I will remind you that the Weather Underground, which was led by Bill Ayers, who was a big early supporter of Barack Obama, bombed the U.S. Senate, bombed police headquarters. So we have had insurrections before, if you want to use that term, insurrections. But never was a president charged. Now we have the Democrats in state governments and federal governments led by the Justice Department indicting former presidents. Now, one of the indictments that I read yesterday is about lying. Vidal, if politicians were indicted for lying, we'd all be in prison, wouldn't we?
Yes, the three easiest indictments to get as a federal prosecutor, and it's usually for organized crime, are the 1001 violations of lying or conspiracy or tax evasion. Those were all set up and have very loose parameters so that you can go after organized crime. Here, these indictments are bouncing right at the First Amendment, the right of free speech. And for 236 years now, we've had that right of free speech be inviolate. You can't go into a movie theater and yell fire. That's reckless. But they're going to have to prove here that anything he said was, one, reckless, that he intended it for it to be criminal, and that he conspired with other people. Of all the charges right now, the obstruction of justice for the documents case in Florida is really the most laser-like charge that he has to really defend himself against. These, I believe, are a sort of a kitchen sink approach by the federal prosecutors. They sort of threw everything in together, and they're kind of interrelated on their facts. And so you just start claiming conspiracy and you start claiming lying, and you've picked the two easy, low-hanging federal arsenal, if you can. But what happens also is it has more defenses that are possible than, say, the obstruction case in Florida. There are a myriad of defenses to these conspiracy charges that have just been leveled against him. And I don't believe a jury is that all you have to do is hang up one person, and all of them are going to go together. And I think that you're going to see that it's going to be very hard to convince a jury that it was reckless, it was intentional, and it was criminal. Those are very, very high burdens to sustain. And I think it was done more for show purposes here, to show that they did something about the January 6th riots, as opposed to just a documents case in Florida or a Georgia election violation, or, lying on forms in New York. So I think that it was done more to satisfy a need out there for the Democrats to say, well, we're going after him for January 6th.
Vidal, is the Biden administration starting to tread on very dangerous waters for our democracy, going after former presidents on very loose? I understand and I agree with you that the first federal indictment with respect to the documents is probably the strongest, because there is evidence, recorded evidence, that he was saying, I've got the documents. But even that is a little loose in comparison that, former Vice President Pence and Biden also had documents stored in their garages. As I've always said, I think this could have been resolved, the documents issue, by continuing to have the attorneys talk to each other and just getting compliance on behalf of former. They didn't have to go to an indictment. But the fact is, they did raid his home, which is unprecedented. But the other indictments are all so political. The question is, do you think Joe Biden and his Justice Department is leading America down a very dangerous path that could result in something that we really don't want to see in this country?
Well, you have to ask yourself, would this have happened under J. Edgar Hoover with the FBI, or with Bill Sessions as the head of the FBI? It's new territory. It's political territory, which justice lawyers and SEC lawyers and government lawyers try to avoid most of the time. And they try to avoid even the appearance of it. This doesn't avoid the appearance that that's happening right now. And how they explain themselves going forward on this kitchen sink approach, this was a pretty careless set of facts here that they interwove to find a conspiracy and a 1001 violation. They're also the easiest to knock down for a jury. So let's see how this goes. The jury will decide, and I think it's going to be very difficult for these prosecutors to get something down the road on these indictments.
All right, Vidal Martinez, former assistant U.S. attorney for the Southern District of Texas, former chairman of the State Bar Association of Texas. He oversaw, 20,000 lawyers in the state of Texas?
98,000, Orlando.
That's 98,000 lawyers. He's been a regent at the University of Houston. I mean, Vidal has done everything. He was a candidate for.
And he was doing it.
He was, and let me say publicly, he was my candidate early on in the race for county judge, but it wasn't meant to be. I think he was the strongest candidate. We had two lovely, wonderful, articulate, intelligent candidates, but Vidal was my choice, and I've known him for many, many years. He's a great attorney, and Vidal, thank you for your time, and we'll have you back as this progresses. Take care, my friend.
You're welcome. Thank you. Bye, Andrea.
Bye, Vidal. Gracias. So you think if Donald Trump would have pursued running again for president, they will just leave him alone? You think this is just things that keep...
Oh, this is political.
Yeah.
This is Merrick Garland, who is the United States attorney appointed by Biden. Now remember, Merrick Garland works for Joe Biden. Mm-hmm. That's Joe Biden's his boss. Merrick Garland is upset that the Republicans thwarted his nomination to the Supreme Court. And he has been hell-bent to go after Joe Biden. The Democrats he's been hell-bent going after Donald Trump.
Yeah.
The Democrats have a very, very weak candidate, Joe Biden. Not only is he 90 years old, he can't figure out if he needs to go stage left or stage right.
He's
He
weak
can't.
at all
He can't.
levels.
I mean, you know, what's he going to be like in 2 more years? My God. So they know they have a weak candidate. So in order to level the political playing field, they're coming after Donald Trump. Great. They can do that. You can indict anybody in this country. It's real easy. You get a panel of 24 and 12 people have to say, yeah, the evidence looks like, boy, let's indict him, especially in Washington, D.C., in the District of Columbia, right? You indict a former Republican president. Come on, folks. And this is what's dangerous about it. Merrick Garland and Joe Biden are taking the country down a very dangerous path. Did Donald Trump have the constitutional right to free speech and say, without claiming fire in the theater, that he felt that he was cheated, that he felt that the votes weren't properly counted, that he felt that the American people were being delivered a disservice by the way they count votes? That's his right of free speech. I mean, I've said that. Remember in 2001 when I ran for mayor and lost by 5,000 votes? I said, hey, those last ballots that came in are suspicious. Well, they could have indicted me for a conspiracy to obstruct the counting of the votes in Harris County. It's absolutely ridiculous. And the problem is, this is very dangerous territory that Special Prosecutor Smith, I guess that's his name, and Merrick Garland and Joe Biden are taking the country. All of this can be resolved another. But anyway, it's going to be very interesting to see what happens. They're not going to derail, in my opinion. And by the way, for full disclosure, I was not a Trump supporter. I supported Marco Rubio. But this is strictly political. And they're not going to derail Donald Trump becoming the nominee. And right now in the polls, head to head, it's close. It's close. So it's going to be very interesting. All right, let's move on.
Anyway, another thing that is very dangerous is the another epidemic that we have in our community, and especially in the Hispanic community, is diabetes, hypertension, blood pressure, high blood pressure, all these kind of conditions that lead to other things that people are dying of that. Why? Because bad lifestyle. They're not eating right. They're not exercising. They're not doing what they need to or supposed to do. So that's why we invited today Amanda Krippel. She is a family and community health agent from Harris County. And Amanda has a bachelor's degree and arts degree in UT Bronzeville and also emphasizing Spanish and English. So Amanda speaks Spanish also.
And Amanda is, she'll correct me, but the Texas A&M University has what's called the Extension Service. And they are in every county in Texas, and they do many things. I mean, promote agriculture, help farmers with erosion. But one of their biggest tasks, in my opinion, very important, is to educate the community on healthy lifestyles. And so, Amanda, am I far off base, or is that part of the mission of the Extension Service? And as you're assigned to Harris County, correct?
That's correct. You pretty much nailed it on the head, Orlando.
How about that?
Always. He loves to be right all the time because he's always
You do
right.
your research. That's great.
Amanda, welcome to TLC. Thanks for your time. I
you for
wanted
having
you
me.
explain the program.
Our extension program or our family community health program?
Well, both programs, I guess.
Okay, so extension is basically considered the outreach of the university. So we are in all 254 counties in the state of Texas. And like Orlando said, we do anything from agriculture to horticulture to our 4-H, which is our youth component, and then family community health, which is me. And then we also have our BLT and FNEP, which programs to our population as well. So what I do in extension in Harris County, I do health and wellness programs for the community and residents of Harris County.
How bad is these issues, Amanda, I know we have problems in Texas, but let's talk about Harris
Mhm.
County because you guys are in Harris County. So how bad is the issue on lack of a lifestyle? You know, diabetes, hypertension, and all of these conditions that are leading to other conditions that then people are dying for that. So tell us about it. What is the situation right
Well,
now in
first of all, they're not dying for it; they're dying from it.
from it? Exactly, from it.
I'm her translator,
Yeah,
Amanda.
he is my teacher. He's my English teacher.
Yeah,
So
so
tell us
In
about that.
Harris County, we do have a high Hispanic and African American population, and with especially with diabetes, that affects our Hispanic population as well as our African American population, and it is very high. I don't know the exact number, but it is high, and we do see that because it is a lot of things, right? A lot of factors that affect diabetes, right? It is a chronic disease. There is lack of exercise, lack of eating healthy. There's still disparities in within to see a doctors in our community as well. Even though we live in a beautiful city of Houston where there's diversity and there's lots of great things, there are still food deserts in our community. So there's areas in populations in our community where there isn't a great grocery store. And the nearest thing there is probably a dollar store, a general dollar store, or maybe just a pop up market. And a lot of people are getting their food from there. Um, the economy as well. Groceries are expensive, and eating fresh fruits and vegetables are expensive. So that also affects our population as well.
I'm glad you pointed that out because, there's this misconception that we live in the city of Houston, as Amanda points out, which is a great city and home to the world's largest medical center. So everybody thinks, hey, we have access to health care. This is great. We got more doctors and lawyers. Uh, no, that's not the case. And
Hmm.
one of the things I've learned, I think, working with the Extension Service and working with endocrinologists, both at the University of Texas. I'm going to give a plug to Dr. Elizabeth Vaughn at the University of Texas. She's working on a program to, get the community access to healthcare providers, and we'll be talking more about that. In fact, I was telling Amanda I want to hook Amanda up with Dr. Vaughn, and so to work collaboratively for the benefit of the community. But one of the things I've learned traveling through the Fifth Ward of Houston, which is predominantly African American, but also changing into more Hispanics, and
Hmm.
let's say the second ward, what we call Segundo Barrio, the
Hmm.
historic Hispanic neighborhood. But we also have large concentrations of low income Hispanics on the near north side of Houston and the southwest side, even around Hiram Clark area and the Fondren Southwest area. I'm just giving you guys geographic locations.
Hmm.
But um, I'm reminded of Marvin Zindler. Remember, he used to say, it's
Yeah.
hell to be poor. It really is. And think about this because most people say, well, we live in the fourth largest city with the biggest medical center. But let me just tell you, if you don't own an automobile and you're dependent on the Metropolitan Transit Authority to get to the
Hmm.
medical center to see your
Forget it.
endocrinologist, man, that's tough. So let's just say you have an elderly mom or a grandmother. She's got to go
Hmm.
to the endocrinologist, lives off of Jensen Drive in the Fifth Ward. She's got to take a bus, maybe try to connect to the red line, and then the red line to the medical center. And then she gets a prescription, a handwritten prescription for a
Yeah.
CVS. She has to take the bus back home, right? And in her neighborhood, there is no Randall's, there is no Kroger, there is no
Mhm.
HEB,
There is
there is no
no
Fiesta,
and
there
no
is
restaurants.
nothing. No,
Only
yeah,
fast food restaurants.
and
Yep.
processed foods. And then she's got to take that same bus to go to a CVS or a Walgreens or a Walmart that's not in her neighborhood to get her prescription filled. And then four
Hmm.
weeks later, she's got to follow up at the medical center.
Right.
Folks, do you have any idea how difficult that is? That's
Hmm.
almost impossible. Most people just give up. And so now you've got obesity and type 2 diabetes, and untreated, you're going to lose limbs. You're going to have circulatory problems. You're going to have renal failure. You're going to go blind. I mean, it's just incredible, and the cost to the taxpayer is incredible. Is that a pretty good scenario of what's going on in
Yeah,
low income
we
neighborhoods?
here at Extension, we give diabetes management classes. So most of the people who come to our classes are fairly new, just diagnosed. They just came from their doctor and they're like, I just learned that I have diabetes. What do I do? So we offer our classes all over Harris County at community centers, at senior centers, churches, organizations. They're free to the public, which is amazing. Um, you just call us. We try to find availability in our calendar when we can fill those classes, and we try to get the community in there. And we really try to educate our community on chronic disease management. So, especially with diabetes, we really talk about how to manage your blood sugar, right? How to eat healthy. And Weed Extension will never tell you, don't eat carbs, right? That's a bad thing. No, you can eat the carbs. It's about portion control. So we really try to manage and tell our residents and our community how you can manage diabetes. Because if you are newly diagnosed, it is a scare. I am Hispanic. I have pre-diabetes as well. I had gestational diabetes when I was pregnant with my son. It runs in my family. It's genetic. So I know I'm going to get it. But what can I do now? And that is by educating myself, eating healthy, exercising, right? Talking to my doctor, things like that. So we really try to educate our community on what you can do to just manage diabetes. Manage if you do have diabetes, it's never going to go away, but we can manage that with medication and diet and exercise.
Amanda, not only manage those conditions, but also prevent those conditions. And I always say, if you started as a young age with your kids, and
Yeah.
as parents, we start educating them with the healthy lifestyle, you're
Mm-hmm.
not gonna miss of what you don't know. Meaning, if you never drink sodas, you're not gonna miss sodas. If you never
Yeah.
eat those nachos and chips and Cheetos and all of those things that are not good for the kids, you're never gonna miss it. So, starting from the parents, I think if we educate our parents, that pass to the kids, and they can eat healthy. And people
Mm-hmm.
don't understand, because I hear that all the time. I used to work at Univision long time ago for 15 years,
Yeah.
and we always were doing stories about that. And I
Mm-hmm.
hear from families saying, well, eating healthy is so expensive. What they don't understand is more expensive not eating healthy, because
Yes.
then it's going to come with a lot of disease. So
Yes.
we need to educate. I mean, water is the less expensive thing, and you can drink water instead of sodas. You can eat
Mm-hmm.
other things that they are not expensive, but that comes with education. If our community is not educated, they don't know better. And that's
Yeah.
why it's very important, not only manage the condition, learn how to manage the condition, but prevent the condition.
But Amanda, before you comment on that, I want to say nutrition is not easy. It's complicated. For example, I think I try to live a healthy lifestyle. Maybe I should quit the wine, but
Well,
no,
wine has antioxidant.
that's true.
Exactly.
But here's an example. It took me a long time to recognize, that carbs need to be balanced with protein.
Right.
It took me a while to realize that not only does bread, for example, have carbs, but that's
Mm-hmm.
fine. I mean, you can burn them if you have a healthy lifestyle, but the sugar content of bread, and so now when I go to the grocery store, I start looking at sugar content of food. And not to mention sodium. Some people go to the store and say, I'm going to get I'm not going to name a brand, but vegetable soup in a can.
Oh
Mm-hmm.
my
Oh
God, the
my God,
sodium.
that's like 1,200
Yeah.
grams of sodium per serving. So if you have high
Yeah.
blood pressure and you think you're eating healthy, like eating vegetable
Yeah.
soup, you're actually spiking your blood pressure. So it's complicated, and it's tough for a community that's struggling just to stay alive.
It most definitely is, especially in a Hispanic population. I grew up, my grandmother raised me. We're from a very border town. So she didn't know, we grew up on beans and tortillas and rice and carne guisadas and all this great stuff, right? I
Chicharrones.
wasn't, chicharrones, exactly. It wasn't until I was older and I realized, and my grandmother had diabetes and hypertension. My three of my uncles have passed away from massive heart attacks. So I know my family history, and I think that's one of the biggest things with our population is we have to know our family history, number one, and we have to be educated. And it's hard. It is really hard, especially. I can always speak for my culture and where I come from. It's hard to get that education into our communities because we are ingrained on how we were raised and what we were taught when we were younger. But here at Extension, we try to do that all over our community. We are, like I mentioned earlier, we're trying to go to churches, community organizations, YMCAs, apartments, anywhere there is, we try to go out there. And it's not just where we teach about chronic disease management. We talk about nutrition. We teach how to read a nutrition label. And that's really the important kind of where it starts. Like you mentioned, you look at that can of soup and you see the sodium intake, right? So we really talk about looking at the nutrition label and reading it and what everything means, because it's really hard. And, we also talk to our youth in schools. We talk about my plate and how my plate should look like. It should be fruits and vegetables and protein and dairy and carbs and what that looks like in our home, right? And we tell our kids, what does your plate look like? And, some kids will say, oh, I don't have any color. It's just white and brown, right? It's arroz with a carne guisada, or it's pasta and something else. So we really try to teach our kids that too. We start, which, like you mentioned in there, try to teach them young. We try to go to schools and talk about my plate and nutrition. And then hopefully they can go back to their homes and then tell mom and dad, oh, my plate, we have to have color. We have to have, proteins and carbs and grains and dairy and things like that. So we try very hard to start with our youth as well.
There's a misconception because that's part of the solution, Amanda. But the other one is, I think you talked about earlier, is portion control.
Yes.
Some people say, well, I've got color. I've got 2 pounds of broccoli with a lot of salt and butter on it, and
Exactly.
I've got 40 pounds of noodles. Oh, that's healthy, and I've got 6 slices of whole wheat bread. With a bunch of no, no.
And on top of that, we live in Texas.
Yeah.
Everything is big in Texas.
Yeah.
You go to a restaurant.
You get a massive steak.
Yeah,
hanging,
no, it's
hanging
like,
off the side.
yeah, every time I go to a restaurant, I say I want to share whatever I order because it's
Yes.
so big. So
Mhm.
it is not helping the portions that they also
Yeah,
offer.
so portion control is very important because, as Amanda said early on, no, they're not going to tell you not to have carbs. They're not going to tell the kids you can't have a spoonful of macaroni and cheese, but it ought to be that, half a cup or a cup. You don't need the whole box of macaroni and cheese, you know. But again, I go back to this. If you're poor and you've got to
Mhm.
fill your baby's belly at night and all you have is a potato, you're going to make mashed potatoes. And
Absolutely.
if you have 25 strands of noodles left in the box, you're going to boil those spaghetti,
Mhm.
and you're going to give them a piece of toast. That's all
Mhm.
carbs, but it fills
That's
them up
right.
because there's nothing. You can't run down the street like I can in my neighborhood. I can literally walk to Kroger
Yeah,
and get every vegetable I want.
well, of course,
You
but
can't do that in poor neighborhoods. And
yeah.
what kills me, and by the way, this is an editorial comment, Amanda. I'm known for making editorial comments.
Got it.
Now, I'm assuming your ultimate boss, right? Is it the agriculture commissioner? Does he oversee the extension services in Texas?
No.
The state legislature does?
Well, we are funded by the state, so we do report and we do interpretations to our state legislatures as well. Yes,
So your funding comes from the legislature,
correct. Well, from
okay,
the state. Hmm.
the state of Texas. All right.
Hmm.
So here's my editorial comment. You ready?
Yeah, are you ready,
I
Amanda?
hope.
We
I'm
have a
scared,
half
but
an
okay.
hour.
I hope, and Amanda's going to be very quiet because she's not going to get involved in this. But
Correct.
as you know, this is Texas Latino conservatives.
Correct.
We try to educate the Hispanic community, but we also try to educate our legislators. And since we are
Hmm.
conservatives, I want our Republican friends in Austin to get out their number 2 pencil and their big chief tablet and take notes. Um, this is a way to get into the Hispanic community. I get questions all the time from Republicans. Hey, how do we reach the Hispanic community? Why don't you find out what the issues are in the Hispanic community and try to come up with solutions? And so
Yeah.
the biggest issue facing minority communities, and particularly Hispanics, I don't like to label anyone minority because I'm not a minority. I'm a Texan and I'm a naturalized U.S. citizen, so I'm an American. But the left calls us minorities, people of color. So, how do you want to reach people of color? Go into the communities, talk to them,
Hmm.
worry about how to fix the health of those babies, give them better access, communities like Houston, the city of Houston, why don't you have incentives to get HEB and Kroger and Fiesta into those neighborhoods?
Yeah.
I mean, we provide subsidies for sports palaces. We build 3 arenas at the cost of billions of dollars.
Yeah.
Why can't we put up a little community, supermarket
with
where
healthy
people
stuff?
Exactly. I mean, so okay, that's my editorial comment, folks. You want to understand and help communities? Roll up your sleeves, get into those communities, and find out what the problems are.
And not only the lack of good or healthy food, but also they're not exercising. They're not moving their bodies. And you don't need to go to a gym. You don't need a fancy gym to move your body. Just go walk around. Walking, it's.
That's another thing.
Yeah.
The city of Houston funds parks and recreation. Have you been to a city park? I mean, Memorial Park is great, but it's on the west side of town.
Yeah.
Have you been to a park off of Jensen Drive?
When
Have
I
you
used
been
to work at Univision,
horrible.
yes, I used
They're
to.
horrible.
Horrible.
Horrible. Those community centers need to have exercise equipment. They have to have a physical coach there. They have to have the extension service in there. And that you get the community in there. You've got air conditioning in the summer. You've got swimming for kids. But it's pathetic. The city of Houston, the only reason Memorial Park is beautiful is because of the generosity of foundations, not because of the city of Houston.
Of
It is the Hogg family dedicated that real estate to the city of Houston, and those foundations and the Kinder family have put in millions of dollars. But that doesn't happen in low-income neighborhoods. So the city of Houston needs to step up and make these community centers and recreation centers better. They're in bad shape. I remember going to the community center in Manchester underneath the big Ship Channel Bridge. I mean, yeah, they have a gym, but it's like, I wouldn't go there, So invest.
I know. We need to invest. So, Amanda, what has been the biggest challenge that you guys are facing in your program, and how people in general in the community can help?
I think one of the biggest challenges is that there's not enough of us out there educating our community. Here at Extension in our Houston office, there's only 2 family community health agents. It's me and a Dr. Sanja Davis. And we try our best to go out into the community. We do get a lot of requests of, chronic disease, diabetes, hypertension. We do cooking as well. So cooking well with diabetes, cooking well with hypertension, right? So I think for us, one of the obstacles is there's a lot of requests, and Houston is so large that there's not enough time to give out those educational resources to everybody, because other than what we do, we also do other things as well. So I think that's one of the biggest challenges here.
Yeah, and I'm going to say a shout out to the Extension Service, because, as you know, we have limited money too. Our money comes in from donations across the state, and our mission is education as a 501c4. Right. And so we took on a task to try to, oh my God, I didn't realize how tough it would be. As you know, last year, was it 2 years ago, Amanda, we did what's called Salud a Ti, which translated in English means health to you. Yeah. And we
were there.
Called the Extension Service, and you guys were wonderful. You came in. We hired. Thank you to the Papa's families. Provided a chef from one of the restaurants, a Hispanic chef, but well-known chef, I think from Catarino from Papa's Brothers Steakhouses.
Yeah, from downtown.
And worked with the Extension Service to have a cooking demonstration. Yeah. But my God, was that hard and expensive to promote. I mean, we had to promote it. We had to buy bags. We had to bring in activities for the children. And yes, we had a turnout. We did it at the Azteca Farmers Market. Efren Gonzalez donated his property. He's so involved. And even Efren, I mean, he's suffering from the same issue. So he's compassionate. He understands. He gave up he and his partner gave up his real estate for us but God, it was so hard. So that's why I'm a firm believer in partnering with other organizations like the University of Houston Medical School that now wants to focus on urban health care, like Dr. Elizabeth Vaughn at the University of Texas Health Science Center, like the extension service and AgriLife. So I'm not going to give up. I'm going to continue. But
Yeah.
my mission, Amanda, really is to get our leadership in Austin to pay attention to this issue. It is costing the taxpayer an incredible amount of money. Undiagnosed and untreated type 2 diabetes, which starts off by overeating and obesity in most cases, is easy to thwart, easy to prevent, but we've got to dedicate resources to it. So I'm going to work at the legislative level. I think the next time I see my friend Greg Abbott, who's the governor of Texas, I'm going to mention this to him. I haven't talked to Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick in a while, but he has been on the show. He's very gracious. He's helped us, with our organization. And I'm going to talk to my friends in the legislature to try to ramp up, focusing in on the issues of urban Texas. Because I know there's obesity down in the Rio Grande Valley and in South Texas. I'm a property owner in Kinney County, which is between Del Rio and Uvalde. And but most of those kids are out there working ranches. It's not as prolific as it is in urban Texas. So again, hang in there. We really appreciate what you do, Amanda. I'm assuming you're also bilingual, right?
Sí, hablo español.
Así que podemos explicar un poco,
Podemos
Amanda,
explicar
qué
un
es lo
poco,
que hace
sí.
ella, con quién trabaja y qué es lo que tratan de lograr.
Así es, Amanda, ¿nos puedes explicar un poco en español porque este video se va a compartir? Ahorita estamos saliendo en vivo, pero este video se va a compartir y se va a poder ver over and over todo el tiempo. Así que explícanos un poco en español.
Bueno, nosotros en la Oficina de Extensión de Texas hacemos programas gratis para la comunidad de Texas sobre diabetes, sobre la alta presión y también sobre varias cosas crónicas de su salud.
Amanda.
I need to keep working on my Spanish because I haven't talked in a lot.
No,
you're
good.
fine. You're fine. You're good. So how do people can find you guys? I mean, how do you guys promote the program and how people can access the program?
So you can come to our website. So at Extension Harris County, you can find our programs. We have a calendar of events. You can follow our Facebook page. We have that's one Better Living for Texans, and we have a Family and Community Health Harris County also. And then you can call us. You can call our number. It's 713-274-0950. You can call, you can ask what programs we have related to health and wellness, or maybe you need information on your garden, or maybe you have a farm, or maybe you want information on youth. What are we doing with our youth with our 4-H? So call us. You can visit our website, our Facebook pages. When we partner and we work in the community with community centers or churches, they market it to their residents. So if we're working, for example, with a YMCA, they market it to their whole YMCA group. If we're working with Precinct 2 Community Center, they market that to all their members at that precinct. So wherever we partner with, they market it as well as we do. So you kind of see it all over.
Ok, otra vez en español para la abuelita que está viendo y quiere comunicarse con ustedes, ¿cómo se comunica?
Bueno, pueden hablar a nuestro número que es 713-274-0950.
Repítelo una vez más.
713-274-0950.
Y ahí se pueden comunicar y buscar información sobre los programas que hace el Servicio de Extensión de la Universidad de A&M sobre alimentos, vivir una vida más saludable, cómo empezar a tratar de prevenir y cambiar el curso que uno tiene con el sobrepeso y la diabetes 2, ¿no?
Y sobre todo que estamos viendo tantos niños que están padeciendo este problema y esta condición, y que es muy triste ver niños menores de 10 años inclusive ya con unos grados alarmantes de obesidad. Y o sea, no que sea imposible tratar esta condición, pero una vez ya un niño menor de 10 años tiene esta condición, es muy difícil porque va a tener un problema en el futuro,
toda su vida.
Toda su vida.
Amanda, una cosa que aprendí yo hablando de diabetes y sobrepeso es, and I'll say this in English, one of the things I've learned talking to professionals about obesity and type 2 diabetes is you can, if you see a child, especially a Hispanic child that's overweight, and they have these lines on the back of their neck, that's not dirt. That's an indication that they're prone or they have some kind of condition that's leading the skin to develop that tone. That needs to be looked at, right? They need to be screened.
Correct. I don't know the correct term, but it is once you see even adults too. Adults, a lot of people who have diabetes probably don't know they even have the disease yet, and it's coming at it's almost like a darkening of the skin on the neck, and like you said, it's not dirt. I can't remember the term
Yeah.
off the top of my head, but it is an indication that you might have diabetes. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So abuelas y mamás, si ven que los niños tienen unas manchitas en el cuello que parecen que es churre porque han estado afuera jugando, no es, eso es una indicación que posiblemente la piel está cambiando color por
la
consecuencia de la diabetes. Así que hay que por lo menos ir a hacer un examen por parte de un médico.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
¿Tú no sabías eso?
No tenía
¿Aprendes
la menor idea.
algo todos los días?
Sí, bueno, todos los días aprendemos algo y sobre todo en TLC siempre estamos aprendiendo también.
Así que mamacitas y abuelitas y tías, por favor, llamen a Amanda si necesitan algo. Está súper ocupada, pero disponible para ayudar a la comunidad por el programa de la Universidad de A&M, el servicio de extensión que tienen en 254 condados en el estado de Texas. Así que es fácil prevenir, es fácil mejorar el estilo de vida que ustedes tienen si están sobrepeso para prevenir problemas médicos serios, diabetes, problemas
del corazón.
Del corazón.
Cardiovasculares.
Mira, mi
There you go.
traductora.
¿Viste?
She helps me in Spanish and I help her in English. This is teamwork.
It's a good team.
Well, Amanda, call to action one more time before we go off the air.
So, call to action is if you need any type of health and wellness education resources, anything on gardening, on land, on youth, you can call Extension. We are considered the best kept secret in the state of Texas. Even though we are part of the university system, a lot of people don't know that we exist. And we are free to the community. We do have some programs where we do charge a fee, but most of our education is to provide that to our community and our residents of Texans all over Texas. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, you can call us, visit our website at Harris County, Extension Harris County, visit our Facebook pages at Family Community Health, or you can call us or visit our website.
And for our friends in the Texas legislature, both Democrats and Republicans that are watching, because, it takes teamwork, right?
Yep.
To get anything done, we have to have Democrats supporting us, and we have to have Republicans leading the way. Governor Abbott and Dan Patrick. Let's pay attention to urban issues. Very important here in Texas. The struggles of poor urban Texans are our problems. We either address them now when it's easier and working with the extension services, or we fund them at hospitals and sort of end-of-life situations that really are expensive through Harris Health. We don't want to do that. So let's get some resources down to urban Texas. Also, speaking of Harris Health, I want to say, and I think I'm going to try to schedule, you need to schedule Dr. Porsa, the CEO of Harris Health.
Okay.
Harris Health is our publicly supported hospital, clinic, healthcare centers in Harris County. Everybody thinks that Ben Taub is Harris Health. That we do more than Ben Taub. So we have a big bond issue coming up. Harris Health has not asked the public for improvements to their infrastructure in years. And as you all know and have followed me in my political career for 25 years, I rarely support bond issues. But there are bond issues that are important, and healthcare infrastructure is one of them. Infrastructure also is another one. Building roads and bridges, I do support those. I've not supported bond issues for building fancy hotels in downtown Houston or building sports palaces for a great sports team, our champion. I love the Astros, but Major League Baseball can pay their way. So I don't support those. But Harris Health is going to come to the public, that is the taxpayers of Harris County, and ask that they be authorized to get a loan of $2.5 billion to improve Bentob Hospital, make it last a few more years, create another level 1 trauma center, improve our community healthcare systems. And Dr. Porsa is the CEO of Harris Health. I have met with him personally. I am extremely supportive of the bond issue. I have been trying to get in the community, the word out in the community, and because we're talking about healthcare, Andrea, the question is this going to raise our taxes? Yes, a little bit, tiny bit. I think it's 2 pennies on property tax per $100 valuation.
But if it's for a good cause, it's fine.
It's for a great cause. We're deficient in level 1 trauma centers in Harris County. I think it's called the American Institute or the American Academy of Thoracic Surgeons, say that you need 1 level 1 trauma center per 1 million residents. And Harris County is about to have 6 million residents in the near future.
Wow.
Do you know how many level 1 trauma centers we have?
1.
2.
2.
Co-located, meaning they're right next to
next
each
to
other in the medical center. So if you have a major accident on the far east side of Harris County or on the northwest side near Cypress off of 290, you're in deep, deep trouble, friends. And that affects all of our families. And so while we're on this subject of healthcare, let's make sure that we educate ourselves on the upcoming bond issue, which, by the way, has been approved by the Harris County Commissioners Court to go on the ballot. So you will see it on the ballot in November in the general election. Towards the bottom, there will be either approve or disapprove of Harris County getting a loan through the hospital district. And let me explain. People say, well, Harris County's got a ton of money. They're making all kinds of millions and millions of dollars through the Toll Road Authority. That's not Harris County. We pay taxes to Harris County, but we also pay taxes to Harris Health. We also pay taxes to the Port of Houston. We also pay taxes to the Sports and Convention Corporation. And so we fund things differently. But Harris Health merits our community support for their bond issue. It is desperately needed. And by the way, people say, well, we have the world's largest medical center. What do you mean we don't have trauma care? We don't. Do you know Dallas has a smaller population, Dallas County, than Harris County, and they have more level 1 trauma centers than we do?
Wow.
Yeah. So anyway, we'll have Dr. Porsa on. Amanda, thank you for what you do. We'll have you back on the program. I know it's a tough task, but you're doing what you can. I'm going to try to help you guys in the legislature and bring attention to our leadership to focus a little more on urban healthcare in Texas.
Amanda, gracias.
Thank you. Muchísimas gracias. Thank you.
Hasta luego.
Hasta luego.
Man, so we've covered indictments. We've covered, more money for urban healthcare.
And now we need to cover Leadership Latino.
Oh, yeah, it's coming up.
Leadership Latino
is
coming up.
You want to talk about it?
Of course. Okay. So Leadership Latino, our class is coming up this Friday and Saturday. Friday is going to be at night. It's going to be a networking. We're going to, get to know the participants. And then Saturday is going to be an all-day class that we're going to start talking about compliance, ethics, how to run for office, how to be a leader in the community.
Well, explain what does compliance mean? Because people don't understand.
Well, you can explain that better.
Okay. So go ahead, finish your comment.
So let me finish the whole thing, and then you explain a specific that.
Okay,
part.
I'll start Googling here.
Yeah.
Go
so
ahead.
we're also gonna teach how to deal with media, how to reach out to Gen Z. That's gonna be a presentation that my son, that now is running for Harris County Precinct Chair, is gonna present to the.
I didn't know he was a candidate.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
You missed that.
Look at here.
Last week he announced that
he announced his candidacy on TLC.
And TLC.
That's amazing.
I know. So he's running for Harris County Precinct Chair.
I'm proud of him.
Uh-huh.
Look at that.
Look at
what a handsome candidate.
Thank you, Mark. What an amazing producer we have. Yeah, look at that.
Hadi does not have lofty goals. He wants to be president of the United States.
Oh yeah, of course. But they told him the best thing to start in politics is running for candidate for precinct chair. Yep. So he said, okay, let me Google where precinct I am. So he did. and he signed up, and now he is a candidate for president chair, and the elections are next year.
I love it. I love all these 18-year-olds, Roman Garcia and Joel Castro and Hadi and I mean, Michelle Gamboa and who was Freddie Arellano in Maverick County. All these guys are 18 years old, 19 years old, freshmen in college, and they're leading the state.
I know.
They're city council members, they're precinct chairs. I mean, golly, we're doing some good stuff.
Yeah,
so
so
it's
he
exciting.
just got his certification in leadership, and so he's preparing the presentation, PowerPoint presentation, and I already reviewing. It's very interesting.
He participated in what, the Leadership Institute?
Leadership Institute, and he got a certificate. He went twice to Washington D.C. with them.
And the Leadership Institute covered all the costs.
Everything.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So young folks, get off the games.
Yeah.
Get off social media.
The YouTube.
Yeah,
and,
YouTube.
You
Get
know,
off
be
the
an
couch
influencer
and go lead.
No, yeah, be an influencer, but the real one.
Yeah.
For the community,
Yeah.
not in TikTok and not in the social media. Be a real influencer. Be a real leader. So, yeah, my son and he was telling the story here. He said TLC has a big impact in my life, and after TLC, and that was started on 2020. During the pandemic, that I remember he was not only helping me producing, editing, filming videos, but also he started presenting videos, educating the community, because I was like, okay, you asked me to do 2-3 minutes video in English, like, come on, please. And you guys have the idea, well, why you don't ask Hadi to do it?
Yeah.
And Hadi was willing to do it. So he said Texas Latino Conservative has a big impact in his life, and now his mindset changed, and now he's looking for a lot of certification in leadership. He got the leadership certification in the Leadership Institute, and then he was invited to Washington, D.C. He was invited to West Palm Beach twice this summer, and everything was, politics, networking. He met a lot of people, and now he decided to run for office.
And you bring up an interesting point, Andrea, because I think yesterday or the day before yesterday, there was an article about George Soros, the financier, a very liberal Democrat. Far left, because, look, I'm not against the Democrats. I tell people all the time, when you go to Arlington National Cemetery, there are Republicans and Democrats buried there.
Yeah.
Democrats and Republicans have fought for this country for years. And, it's part of our system, and there are well-intentioned Democrats, don't get me wrong. And both sides, the extremes is what's dangerous to our country. George Soros has been funding extreme far left candidates across the country. And it was revealed in an article yesterday or the day before that has a mysterious group in Texas that he's funneling $500,000 to $1 million into. Texas is a big state. $1 million is really not a lot, but to us it is, because we leverage those dollars. But not to worry. My conservative friends get wrapped around the axle about George Soros. TLC is doing magnificent things in the state of Texas. And so we have, the counterbalance to the far left, which is TLC, but we're middle of the road. We want to work collaboratively with our Democrat friends in Austin to provide for the community. And so we do a lot of things. Leadership Latino is our educational branch, where we take members of the state of Texas that want to lead, that want to get involved in politics but don't really know how. And we do these one-day intensive seminars. It's free of charge. I will tell you that we're approaching 50 students that have signed up.
No way.
This is our largest class.
Wow.
And,
we've been growing and growing and growing.
Yeah.
I love it.
And successfully. You have to remind people that, remember our last class, we had 3 candidates running for Katy Independent School District,
and
they all won.
They all won.
So, sign up. It's Leadership Latino. You go to our website, Texas Latino Conservatives. Mark's got it up. And you'll see several tabs across the top. It'll say TLCP, that's Texas Latino Pastors, Texas Latino PAC. You'll see Leadership Latino. Pretty soon we're going to have a page called our All-Stars, where all of our candidates that have either been endorsed by TLC or have gone through Leadership Latino and have won office, they're going to be listed on there. So we're doing some great things. I say all that because none of this is free. So if you want to help us by
The
giving
seminar
us,
is free, but
the
what we do
seminar
is not free.
Right. It costs us money to put it on, and we're able to do Leadership Latino by virtue of the generosity of many Texans.
Yeah.
Many Texans that we don't have time to call out, but it's the generosity of Texans that keeps us going. So if you want to contribute $5, $10, $50,
Whatever.
$500, $5,000,
Everything is good.
$50,000, we'll take it. You know, we're very circumspect on how we spend our donated dollars. We're very much aware of that. So go to TexasLatinoConservatives.com. Mark, what's that? Is that the fire alarm? Do we have to leave? That's all right. We're at the end of the show.
Yeah,
So,
thank you so much for being with us. And again, go to TexasLatinoConservatives.com, participate in Leadership Latino, and stay tuned with our calendar. We're always posting different events and different classes and different information. So the most important thing is like we're here
for you,
for the community,
para ustedes.
Y
Cualquier inquietud, llamen a Andrea Gómez.
o a Orlando Sánchez. No, también si quieren llamar a Orlando Sánchez para que vaya y hable en su comunidad, en su organización.
Con mucho gusto.
Eso también lo hace Orlando.
Con mucho gusto. Voy a ir a Katiezuela. Creo que esta noche, no
¿Hoy?
estoy seguro. No sé.
¿Vas a comer arepas, empanadas?
Los venezolanos. Yo viví en Caracas.
Yo sé.
Okay. Yeah, so I'll go out to the community. If you need a speaker, call me.
Ok, pues muchísimas gracias por habernos acompañado. Nos vemos el próximo miércoles. Chao, chao.
Thank you.